When Liam got home, I confronted him immediately. For the first time, I saw a genuine flash of panic in his eyes before it was expertly shuttered away, replaced by a look of weary frustration. "For God's sake," he sighed, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. "It's that contractor. He's a mess, don't worry, Elle. I'm all over it. It's a simple cash flow issue on his end. I'll go down to the bank tomorrow and wire the funds directly to the suppliers myself." "Consider it handled." He looked at me, his eyes wide and sincere. "Please, don't stress about this. This is my domain, let me handle it." He was so convincing, so utterly in control, that I almost believed him, almost. But the seed of doubt that had been planted by that cream-colored envelope had now sprouted, its insidious roots wrapping around my heart. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, listening to Liam's steady breathing beside me, and all I could think about was the name on that envelope, Blackwood, Finch and Associates. At 2 in the morning, I slipped out of bed. In the sterile quiet of our apartment, I opened my laptop. My fingers trembled as I typed the name of the law firm into the search bar. Their website loaded, professional and sleek, and right there on their homepage was their specialty: family law, divorce, child custody, asset division. A cold dread, sharp and painful, washed over me. Why would a divorce attorney be sending mail to my husband? I tried to rationalize it. A friend, a client, but the envelope had felt so formal, so official. I scrolled through the firm's list of attorneys, their smiling headshots mocking my growing terror. None of the names were familiar. Then I remembered the other piece of the puzzle, the piece that hadn't fit, the bank account. I had taken a picture of the statement with my phone that day, a desperate, intuitive act I hadn't understood at the time. I pulled it up now. The statement was for an account at a bank with branches all over the Northeast, including Philadelphia. My search became more frantic, more desperate. I started searching public records online. It was a long shot, a desperate stab in the dark. I searched for Liam's name in court records for the surrounding states. Nothing. Then, on a gut feeling I still can't explain, I searched his name combined with the name of the law firm. And there it was, a single search result from a county court database in Pennsylvania, a divorce decree. It was dated 2 years ago, 1 year after Liam and I had gotten married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by our friends and family. My mind refused to process it. A mistake, it had to be a different Liam Vance. But the name of the plaintiff silenced that hope. Her name was Sarah, and beside her name was another, Liam Vance, the defendant. The case documents were sealed, but the docket was public: divorce, with dependent children. Children. The word echoed in the silent apartment. I felt the air leave my lungs, a silent scream lodging in my throat. I clicked on a link for the county's property records, my hands moving with a will of their own. I typed in Liam's name and Sarah's name. A result popped up immediately. A 4-bedroom colonial on a tree-lined street in a suburb of Philadelphia. They had bought it 7 years ago. A photo of the house was on the screen. It was lovely with blue shutters and a wide front porch. He hadn't taken a business trip to Philadelphia. He had gone home to his other home, to his real home. Every lie, every excuse, every reassuring smile clicked into place, forming a horrifying mosaic of deceit. The secret bank account wasn't for a high-risk client. It was for his other family. The constant travel wasn't for business. It was to maintain his double life. The money that was supposed to be building our dream house, our monument to love, was being siphoned off to pay for his past. A past he was still living in. I stumbled back from the computer, my hand flying to my mouth to stifle a sob. I looked around our rented apartment, at the furniture we'd picked out together, at the framed photo of our wedding day on the mantelpiece. It was all a set, a stage. And I was the unwitting actor in a play he had written, produced, and directed. He had built our home on a foundation of lies. But it was worse than that. He had built me on a foundation of lies. My entire reality, the love I thought was the bedrock of my existence, was nothing but a fraud. And the pristine, perfect house rising on that hill wasn't a dream, it was a crime scene. And I was finally, terrifyingly, awake to see it. The next morning, I moved like an automaton. I made coffee. I showered. I replied to work emails, all the while a storm of ice and fire raged within me. When Liam emerged from the bedroom, looking refreshed and confident, he kissed me on the cheek. Morning, beautiful. he said, grabbing the coffee pot. I'm heading to the bank now to sort out that mess with the contractor. It'll all be cleared up by lunch, you'll see. I just stared at him. I looked at the man I had loved, the man I had married. And for the first time, I saw a complete stranger. The charm was a mask, the confidence was a costume, he was a phantom, and I had been in love with a ghost. Alara, you okay? You look pale. I took a steadying breath. I know about Sarah, I said. My voice was eerily calm, devoid of the hurricane inside me. The change was instantaneous and terrifying. The charming smile vanished, the warmth in his eyes extinguished. His face became a blank mask of cold calculation. He set the coffee pot down with a soft click. I don't know what you're talking about, he said, his voice flat. I know about the house in Philadelphia. I know about the divorce you finalized a year after you married me. I know about your children. He stared at me, his mind clearly racing, cycling through 1,000 possible lies. Searching for the one that would work, but there were no more lies left. I had taken them all away. You've been snooping, he finally said, his voice dripping with venom. It was an accusation, a deflection. The classic move of a cornered narcissist. You've been living a double life. I shot back, a tremor of fury finally breaking through my calm facade. The money for our house. Liam, where is it? Is it paying for your son's private school? Your daughter's braces. The suppliers are putting a lien on a house built with funds you stole from our joint accounts. His face crumpled, the anger replaced by a desperate, pathetic plea. It's not like that, Alara, it's complicated. I was going to tell you, I swear, I was just trying to protect everyone. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that echoed in the too quiet apartment. You protected yourself. You built a fantasy life here while your real life was imploding somewhere else. You used me. You used my love, my trust, my money. The confrontation was ugly. He tried everything. He cried, he begged. He tried to gaslight me, telling me I was misinterpreting things, that I was hysterical. He tried to blame Sarah, his ex-wife, painting her as a vindictive woman who was bleeding him dry. But the facts were immovable. They were a brick wall. He kept running into Dot in the middle of our shouting match. My phone buzzed. It was Marcus, the architect. Alara, you need to get down here, he said, his voice panicked. The suppliers are here, all of them, and they're not happy. Liam's contractor is here too. And it's about to get ugly. I'm on my way, I said, hanging up. I looked at Liam, who had gone pale. It's over, I told him, grabbing my keys. It's all over. When I pulled up to the construction site, it was chaos. A dozen angry men, the owners of the lumberyards, the concrete companies, the plumbing suppliers, were gathered around a portly, sweating man I assumed was the contractor. They were shouting, waving unpaid invoices in his face. Marcus was trying, and failing to mediate. I walked into the middle of the fray. He has no money, I announced to the crowd. The money is gone. All eyes turned to me. The contractor looked relieved for a split second, before realizing I had just thrown him under a much larger bus. What do you mean, gone? The concrete supplier, a burly man with a furious red face, demanded. Just then, Liam's car screeched to a halt behind mine. He got out, his face a mask of false confidence. Gentlemen, let's all calm down. There's been a simple misunderstanding. But his voice was drowned out by the arrival of another car. A sensible blue minivan that pulled up, right behind his. A woman got out of the driver's seat. She was maybe a few years older than me, with tired eyes but a resolute set to her jaw. She walked directly toward Liam. I tracked your car, Liam, she said, her voice shaking with rage. You emptied the kid's college fund. It was Sarah, his wife, his ex-wife, my replacement. My predecessor. I didn't know what she was. Liam froze, his face ashen. He looked from her to me, then to the crowd of angry men. His carefully constructed worlds were colliding in a spectacular explosion. Right here on the cursed ground of his fraudulent dream. The air in what would be our kitchen smelled of freshly cut Douglas fir and the sweet, earthy scent of damp soil. It was the smell of progress, of a future taking shape 1/4 at a time. I stood in the center of the skeleton room, my arms wrapped around myself, a contented smile playing on my lips, through the frame of a window that wasn't yet a window. I could see the sun beginning its slow dip behind the rolling hills of the countryside, painting the sky in strokes of orange and violet. It's perfect, isn't it? Liam's voice, rich and warm like the mahogany he'd insisted on for the library, wrapped around me as his arms followed. He slid them around my waist, pulling my back against his chest. I leaned into him, my smile widening. "It's more than perfect," I whispered, my gaze sweeping over the exposed beams and the intricate web of wiring that snaked through the walls. "It's ours," he kissed the top of my head. "All yours, Alara. I just get to live in it. We'd bought the land 2 years ago." A sprawling 10-acre plot with a meandering creek and a cluster of ancient oak trees. Liam, a financial consultant, with a preternatural talent for turning whispers of market trends into gold, had called it our forever plot. He was the visionary, the one who saw a grand 2-story modern farmhouse where I only saw a field of overgrown weeds. He had hired the architects, a trendy firm from the city, and had spent countless nights with them, sketching, revising, and perfecting every line. This house was his baby, his masterpiece. I was just the happy passenger on his ambitious ride, the freelance graphic designer who would finally have a studio with enough natural light. Our life was a blueprint for happiness. We were a unit, a team. Liam managed the grand, sprawling architecture of our future investments, construction, the big picture. I handled the interior, the softer details, the color palettes, the texture of the fabrics, the soul of the home. We were in our early 30s, a power couple in the making, and this house was to be the monument to our success, our love, our shared dream. We stood there until the last sliver of sun vanished, leaving the construction site bathed in the cool, blue light of dusk. Liam's phone buzzed in his pocket. A low, insistent hum. He sighed, a theatrical sound of a busy man pulled from his brief respite. "Duty calls," he said, releasing me. He walked over to a stack of plywood, pulling his phone out. I watched his silhouette against the fading light. His shoulders tensed, almost imperceptibly as he looked at the screen. It was a fleeting change in his posture, so small that if I hadn't been studying him, I would have missed it. "Everything okay?" I asked. He slipped the phone back into his pocket without answering. "Just a market alert, volatility, nothing to worry your pretty little head about." He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes this time. "Come on, let's go get some dinner. I'm starving." He slung his arm around my shoulder, guiding me back toward our car, his easy charm already erasing the flicker of unease I'd felt. He was right. He was the expert. My job was to trust him, and for 5 years of marriage, trusting Liam had been as easy as breathing. I had no reason to believe that was about to change. The first crack in the foundation appeared a week later, so small and insignificant it was barely a hairline fracture. It arrived in a crisp, cream-colored envelope, tucked between a catalog for artisanal light fixtures and a bill from the power company. The mail was addressed to Liam, which was normal. But the return address was a law firm I didn't recognize. Blackwood, Finch and Associates. I placed it on the granite countertop of our rental apartment, the one we were living in while the house was being built. When Liam came home that evening, smelling of expensive cologne and city air, I pointed it out. "Looks important," I said casually. He picked it up, glanced at the front, and then flipped it over. His thumb ran along the sealed edge. "Never heard of them," he said, his voice a study in nonchalance. He tossed it, unopened, onto the small pile of junk mail, probably just soliciting business. "Lawyers are the new ambulance chasers. You're not going to open it. It's junk, Elle, trust me." He leaned in and kissed me. A deep, distracting kiss that tasted of mint and unspoken things. "Now, what's for dinner?" I should have let it go, and I did for a while. But the image of that envelope, and his swift, dismissive gesture lodged itself in a corner of my mind. It was the first secret in a house that was supposed to have no hidden rooms. The secrets began to multiply. They were small at first, easily explained away. There was the matter of our finances. I was looking for a warranty for our coffee machine and went into the filing cabinet in Liam's home office. Tucked behind a folder labeled appliance manuals, I found another one, unlabeled. Inside were bank statements for an account with a major national bank we didn't use. The account was in Liam's name only. I scanned the pages, my stomach tightening. There were deposits, large ones, but there were also regular, significant withdrawals. Tens of thousands of dollars moved out every month. When I confronted him, my voice trembling slightly, he was the picture of calm reassurance. He sat me down on the sofa, took my hands in his, and explained it all. "It's a high-risk, high-yield investment vehicle, honey," he'd said, his tone patient, as if explaining a complex board game. It's for a very private, very important client. The money goes in, it gets leveraged, and then it goes out. The returns are phenomenal, but the buy-in is volatile. I had to use a separate account for liability reasons. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to worry. It's my job to handle the stress. Alara's, not yours. It made sense. It sounded exactly like something Liam would do, smart, complex, and a little bit secretive for my own good. I felt a wave of guilt for my suspicion. Of course he had it handled. He always did. I apologized for snooping, and he waved it off with a magnanimous smile. Teamwork, he said, means trusting the other player to make their move. Then came the business trips. They grew more frequent, often arranged at the last minute. A sudden opportunity in Chicago, a crisis to avert in Dallas. I was proud of him, of how in demand he was. But I missed him one Tuesday after he'd left, for what he said was a 2-day conference in Boston. I was cleaning out his travel bag from the previous week's trip and found a receipt crumpled in a side pocket. It was from a fancy Italian restaurant. The date was right, but the city was wrong. The restaurant was in Philadelphia, and the bill was for 2 entrees and a bottle of expensive wine. My breath hitched. Philadelphia. He had never mentioned Philadelphia. I called him, my heart thumping a nervous rhythm against my ribs. Oh, Philly, right? He said, his voice tinny through the phone. There was a pause. Yeah, the Boston meeting got pushed by a day, so I had a last-minute dinner with a potential client in Philly, flew straight there. It was a whirlwind. I must have forgotten to mention it. Sorry, honey, things have been crazy. It was plausible, it was on the edge of plausible, but it was still in the realm of possibility. I forced myself to accept it. I was becoming paranoid. This house, this future, it was so big, so perfect, that I was subconsciously looking for flaws. I was trying to sabotage my own happiness. I resolved to stop. To put my faith back where it belonged, in my husband. The call that changed everything came on a rainy Thursday afternoon. I was working on a logo for a new client, lost in the world of serifs and color theory, when my phone rang. The caller ID read Northwood Designs. It was a man's voice, hesitant and concerned. May I speak with Alara Vance? He asked. It was Marcus, the lead architect on our house. This is she, I said. A smile in my voice. Marcus, how are you? I'm well, Alara, thank you. Listen, I'm sorry to bother you at home, but I've been trying to reach Liam for 2 days and his voicemail is full. Oh, he's in meetings all day. Is there something I can help with? There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could hear him take a deep breath. Alara, we have a bit of a situation. I just received a call from the primary concrete supplier. They're threatening to place a mechanic's lien on the property. My blood ran cold. A lien? Why? I thought we were all paid up. Liam handled the payments, transferring the funds to the general contractor as needed. He'd shown me the payment schedule himself. That's what I thought too, Marcus said, his voice tight with professional anxiety, but they're claiming they haven't been paid for the last 2 deliveries, and when I called the framing company to ask if they'd heard anything, they told me their last check from the contractor bounced. Alara, we have a problem. The world tilted on its axis. A bounced check. A lien on our dream home. This wasn't a minor billing dispute. This was a 5-alarm fire. The truth came out in a torrent of accusations and tears. Sarah had found out about the drained accounts that morning. Liam, it turned out, hadn't been divorced at all. The decree I'd found online was a fake, a document he'd had a shady friend forge and plant in the public database. A digital breadcrumb designed to placate me if I ever got suspicious enough to look. He had initiated divorce proceedings 2 years ago, but they were still locked in a bitter, ongoing legal battle. He wasn't paying for his children's past. He was actively stealing from their future to fund his fantasy with me. And the house, the foundation, was a literal metaphor. The contractor, under pressure from Liam to cut costs, admitted it. They'd used substandard concrete mix, covered it up on the inspection reports, and used cheaper framing materials than what was specified in the blueprints. Liam had promised him a big bonus if he brought the project in under a phantom budget. The house wasn't just built on lies. It was a dangerously flawed structure. A beautiful facade hiding a rotten core, standing there, between the shell of a house that would never be my home and the woman who was my unwitting rival. I felt a strange sense of clarity. The grief was immense. A tidal wave that threatened to pull me under. But beneath it was something else, the hard, unyielding bedrock of truth. The aftermath was a legal and emotional demolition project. The house was declared structurally unsound, a teardown. It was seized as a marital asset in Liam and Sarah's real, ongoing divorce. Liam was facing multiple lawsuits from the suppliers and fraud charges from the bank. I walked away from the marriage with nothing but the clothes on my back and the crushing weight of 5 years of lies. I moved into a tiny, showbox apartment in the city. For months, I was a ghost. I grieved for the man I thought I had married, for the future I thought I had, for the woman I was when I was blissfully ignorant. I reconnected with the family I had drifted from, letting Liam's world consume mine. My sister flew in and stayed with me for 2 weeks, listening to me cry, making me eat, and reminding me of the person I was before Liam Vance had rewritten my reality, slowly, painstakingly. I began to rebuild. I poured myself into my work, my graphic design business becoming my lifeline. My clients didn't care about my personal drama. They cared about clean lines and compelling branding. My work was real. It was honest. It was mine. One day, about a year later, I got an email from a name I vaguely recognized. It was Sarah. She had finalized the divorce. Liam had been given a suspended sentence for the fraud, contingent on him paying restitution for the rest of his life. He had lost everything. She just thought I should know. She ended the email with 2 simple words: "Thank you." I realized then that in blowing up my own life, I had inadvertently saved hers and her children's. We were 2 strangers, bound together by the deceit of one man. It's been 5 years since that day. My design business is thriving. I have my own company now, with 3 employees. I live in a beautiful condo overlooking the city, a place I chose, paid for, and built my life in on my own terms. My foundation is solid. Sometimes, when I'm driving to see a client in the suburbs, I take a detour and pass by that 10-acre plot. A new family bought the land. They had to tear down every last trace of Liam's fraudulent structure. A completely different house stands there now, smaller and more modest, with children's bikes lying in the yard. It bears no resemblance to the ghost house of my past. I don't feel the sting of loss anymore when I see it. I feel a quiet, powerful sense of victory. He built a home on a foundation of lies, and it crumbled to dust. I built a life on a foundation of truth, and it stands tall. He took my past, but I took back my future, and in the wreckage of his deceit, I found the one thing he could never give me, myself.